there was an absolutely explosive Instagram story post last night from Brooklyn. Beckham and Sir David Beckham and Lady Victoria Beckham yet to respond publicly to what people might say is a tirade of criticism and damning accusations made against them by their eldest son, Brooklyn. It's a family rift that has been blown open by an explosive 6-page letter that he has posted on Instagram.
Welcome back to Rumora Sneak, the spot where we spill celebrity secrets with no filters and all the real tea. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It keeps this channel running strong and lets us keep exposing the stories that everyone else is too scared to touch. Brooklyn Beckham just broke his silence, and what he's accusing his own parents of has completely shaken the internet. Fans are split. Some can't believe it's real, while others say they've seen the signs for years. After staying quiet for so long, dodging interviews, and letting gossip swirl nonstop, Brooklyn finally dropped a statement that feels like a full-on declaration. This wasn't some shady post or cryptic quote meant to play games. It was straight-up emotional, brutally honest, and impossible to scroll past. In his message, Brooklyn claims he's dealt with years of pressure, control, and emotional manipulation. He even hinted that his wedding day, something that should have been pure joy, turned into chaos behind the scenes. From the reported drama over the wedding dress to rumors that even his first dance got hijacked, he painted the...
In which he tells his side of the story, alleging his parents have tried to control and manipulate him. And he alleges they have even tried to get him to sign away the rights to his own name, Beckham.
He also says his wedding to billionaire heiress Nicola Peltz was ruined when his mother hijacked the bride and groom's first dance, and in his words,
picture of a day that was supposed to be magical but ended up feeling like a performance he couldn't escape. It's got everyone talking. Was Brooklyn trying to keep the peace all these years, or is this just the start of a huge Beckham family showdown? What makes this whole situation even wilder is that Brooklyn isn't holding back anymore.
Danced very inappropriately on me in front of everyone.
He made it super clear this isn't about forgiveness or patching things up. He's not looking for peace. He's ready to set the record straight once and for all. So what really went down behind those fancy mansion doors? Why now, after all this time, is he finally choosing to speak out? And just how deep does this family drama actually go? Fans are buzzing with questions. How far has this rift between Brooklyn and his parents truly stretched? And what did he reveal that's completely flipping the way people see the entire Beckham family? Let's break down exactly what happened and the messages that sent the internet into meltdown. This latest chapter in the ongoing Beckham feud really kicked off after months of nonstop whispers, awkward public snubs, and eagle-eyed fans pointing out how distant Brooklyn seemed from the rest of the clan. Then came January 19th, the day everything changed. The 26-year-old jumped on his Instagram stories and dropped a string of raw, no-holding-back messages that left everyone stunned. His tone was emotional but fierce, like someone who's finally had enough. Brooklyn began by explaining why he'd stayed silent all this time.
Brand Beckham hasn't just been about football boots and fashion labels. It's about family. There's plenty of footage of them, of course, attending glitzy events together, often with their children, supporting their parents. Unity has underpins the brand, but not anymore, because Brooklyn has done his best to rip the family apart with this scathing attack on David and Victoria.
He said it wasn't weakness. It was a choice. He wanted to keep his family business private, even while the world kept spinning its own version of the truth. In a long post, Brooklyn wrote, "I've been silent for years, doing everything I could to keep family matters private," Brooklyn wrote. But that silence, he says, has officially run its course. According to him, his parents and their PR team just wouldn't stop talking to the press, pushing their own version of the story until he had no choice.
The rumours then about family rifts started when their eldest son married Nicola Peltz in 2022. She's the daughter of a billionaire, of course. I think it's fair to say there were some tensions at the time as to whether his mum would design his wife's wedding dress. But he goes much deeper than that. He's doing his best to shatter their carefully curated Beckham brand image.
But to finally speak up and call out some of the lies that have been floating around. Brooklyn claims that while he was keeping quiet, his parents were busy shaping the public narrative, controlling every headline, every interview, every perfect family moment, while he stayed in the background saying nothing. He says that's when things crossed a serious line and he realized that silence was no longer protection, it was power being used against him. That's when he decided enough was enough.
It was a detailed 6-page social media post in which he said, let's take a look at some of these quotes, shall we? For my entire life, my parents have controlled narratives in the press about our family. He goes on to address those wedding rumours. He says that my parents have been trying endlessly to ruin my relationships since before my wedding, and it hasn't stopped. And he goes on to say,
he made it clear from the jump, this isn't some emotional plea for peace or a family reunion moment. Brooklyn flat out said this isn't about fixing things. It's about finally standing up for himself after years of watching others tell his story for him. He said he's done watching false versions of his life being sold to the public while he's painted as the problem.
and this is quite revealing. My mum hijacked my first dance with my wife. She danced very inappropriately on me in front of everyone. I've never felt more uncomfortable or humiliated in my entire life. And then he also goes on to talk about why he wasn't at his dad's 50th. He says,
And then he dropped the bomb, accusing his parents of crafting a picture-perfect illusion. Brooklyn called out what he described as a carefully polished image built through staged family photos, flawless public appearances, and social media posts that made it all look unbreakable. But behind the smiles and filters, he says, it was all just performance, a show designed to hide the cracks that were already there. Fans couldn't believe it. Was this the real Brooklyn finally breaking free or the start of a family war that's been brewing for years? Just when everyone thought this was only about emotional distance and fake family optics, Brooklyn dropped a claim that blew the whole story wide open. He said his parents tried to pressure him into signing away the rights to his own name. That's right, his name. According to Brooklyn, once he refused, everything changed. He says from that moment on, he was never treated the same again. That single accusation took things from a quiet family tension to a public explosion that no one could ignore. It wasn't just drama anymore. It was betrayal mixed with business. And fans instantly realized this was deeper than anyone thought. And here's where it gets even more personal for Brooklyn. For years, people have been asking the same question. Where did this whole Beckham family fallout really begin? For the longest time, rumors floated around that it all started on his wedding day, when everything supposedly went off the rails between him and his parents. But Brooklyn says no. The damage was already there, long before Nicola walked down that aisle. He claims the tension started to heat up when his mom, Victoria Beckham, suddenly pulled out of designing Nicola's wedding dress. Nicola had already said publicly how excited she was to wear a design by Victoria, but according to Brooklyn, that last-minute decision flipped everything upside down. He says Nicola was left scrambling just weeks before the wedding, desperately searching for another gown to replace the one she thought she'd be wearing. What should have been one of the happiest moments of their lives turned into pure chaos. And that, according to Brooklyn, was the real breaking point. According to Brooklyn, that wedding dress drama wasn't just a little mix-up. It was a straight-up warning sign. He says it opened his eyes to something much deeper going wrong behind the scenes. But that wasn't even the real storm. It was just the first crack. Brooklyn says that after that, the pressure kept coming strong. His parents allegedly tried again to convince him to sign away the rights to his own name, even after he'd already said no. He stood his ground, refusing to give in, but that decision, he claims, changed everything. The warmth and support he once felt from his family turned cold. The connection he thought was unbreakable started to fade, replaced by distance and tension that just wouldn't go away. Brooklyn says that's exactly why he and Nicola decided to stop using the Beckham surname publicly and go by Peltz instead. A move that fans once thought was just about love, but now, in light of everything, feels like a statement. He made it clear that choice carried a lot more meaning than people realized. It wasn't about rebranding, it was about breaking free. And then came the moment Brooklyn says he'll never forget. He described it as the point where everything crossed a line. According to him, the most painful part of the entire wedding wasn't the stress or the tension, it was the first dance that never truly happened. Brooklyn claims that while he and Nicola had spent weeks planning a special romantic moment together, it all got flipped at the last second. Out of nowhere, Mark Anthony allegedly called Brooklyn up on stage, and waiting there was his mom, Victoria Beckham. He says that moment, meant to be pure joy, felt like his spotlight was taken away in front of everyone. What happened next, according to Brooklyn, left him completely stunned. He says the dance that followed felt deeply inappropriate for the moment, something that caught him totally off guard. In front of nearly 500 guests, Brooklyn says he stood there frozen, feeling shocked, uncomfortable, and straight up humiliated as the special moment he'd planned with his wife slipped away right before his eyes. That single moment, he says, stuck with him long after the wedding lights dimmed. It haunted him, not because of the spectacle, but because of how powerless he felt in front of everyone. And that's why, in August 2025, Brooklyn and Nicola quietly renewed their vows, this time on their own terms. No flashy crowd, no cameras, no family politics, just the two of them, choosing to rewrite that memory with love, peace, and privacy. And here's the part that had fans talking. David and Victoria Beckham were not at that ceremony. Brooklyn didn't need to say much about it either. He just said their absence spoke for itself, and that was enough to send the internet into chaos. But even with all that drama surrounding the wedding fallout, Brooklyn claims that wasn't the worst of it. Things reportedly got way more tense later on, especially between him and his father. He says when he flew to London for David Beckham's birthday, he expected a real talk, a chance to reconnect, to finally clear the air in private. But according to Brooklyn, that trip didn't go the way he hoped at all. Brooklyn says things took an even colder turn when he and Nicola flew to London for his dad's big birthday celebration. And what happened next, he claims, was pure humiliation. He says they ended up waiting an entire week hoping for a private moment with David, but it never came. The only time they were supposedly allowed to see him was during the huge birthday bash itself, surrounded by hundreds of guests, flashing cameras, and non-stop press coverage. According to Brooklyn, he asked over and over for just a simple private meeting. No drama, no media, just father and son talking like family. But every single time, he says, the answer was a hard no. When a meeting was finally offered, Brooklyn claims it came with one condition that left him completely stunned. Nicola wasn't invited. He described that as a straight-up slap in the face, not just as a husband, but as someone stuck in an impossible spot, being forced to choose between his wife and his own family. That, he says, was the moment he realized the distance between them wasn't just emotional anymore, it was intentional. And the drama didn't stop there. Brooklyn alleges that when the Beckham family later flew out to Los Angeles, they completely refused to see him. No visits, no calls, total silence. But the part that really sent shockwaves online was his next claim, that the feud wasn't just private anymore. Brooklyn accused David and Victoria Beckham of taking things to the public stage, saying they orchestrated both quiet and public attacks against him. He alleges that private messages were deliberately leaked to the press to twist the story and make him look like the problem. Brooklyn says the drama didn't end with his parents. It spread straight through the whole family. According to him, his brothers Romeo and Cruz Beckham got dragged into the mess too. He claims they were influenced to turn against him, even going as far as criticizing him on social media before eventually blocking him completely. Brooklyn says that moment hit hard, realizing that not only were his parents shutting him out, but now his own brothers had cut off all contact too. Then came the part of his statement that really flipped the script. Brooklyn decided to tackle one of the biggest rumors head on, the claim that Nicola Peltz controls him. He didn't just deny it, he turned the whole thing upside down. Brooklyn said people had it completely wrong, explaining that for most of his life, it wasn't Nicola who had control, it was his parents. He said he'd spent years being managed, directed, and shaped into an image that never truly felt like him. Brooklyn revealed that growing up under that kind of pressure gave him serious anxiety, something that haunted him for years. But he says that once he finally stepped away from his family's control, things changed. For the first time, he started to feel peace, real peace. He described finally feeling calm, grounded, and like he was living life on his own terms instead of someone else's. He ended his statement not with anger, but with something that sounded like real closure. Brooklyn said, "My wife and I do not want a life shaped by image, press, or manipulation. All we want is peace, privacy, and happiness for us and our future family. The internet exploded after that. Some fans rushed to show love and support, saying they finally understood his side, while others couldn't believe how deep the family cracks had truly gone. Even with all the noise surrounding Brooklyn's statement, not everyone's ready to see the Beckhams differently. A lot of people pointed out how hard it is for the public to change their perception, especially when the Beckham family's image has been so perfectly managed for decades. The reactions online blew up instantly. Timelines were flooded and the internet split right down the middle. Some critics came in hard, calling out Victoria and David Beckham for allegedly putting their brand ahead of their family. Comments poured in accusing them of being more focused on keeping their reputation spotless than actually dealing with real emotions behind the scenes. Fans said it felt like fame and media control had blurred the line between parenting and PR. Others, though, saw the whole thing differently, calling it the classic tension between a mother and her son's new marriage. They praised Brooklyn for finally finding his voice and standing up for his peace, saying it takes guts to speak out when your family is one of the most powerful in the world. But the backlash came just as strong. Some people weren't buying Brooklyn's story at all, saying his claims sounded exaggerated or one-sided. A few even went as far as saying that without the Beckham name, his wife wouldn't have looked twice, a comment that sparked massive debate online. And then there were those who said the whole situation had gone too far. Critics argued that family issues should stay private, not turn into internet drama. One commenter even wrote that if any of this were true, Brooklyn should have kept it off social media and handled it through family talks or therapy, warning that speaking out publicly could end up hurting his image more than helping it. The debate only got louder when old interviews and clips started resurfacing, moments where Brooklyn had opened up about social media, fame, and mental health. Those throwbacks reignited the fire, giving both fans and critics more to argue about, and suddenly, the whole situation turned into one of the most talked about celebrity family dramas in years. Through all the noise, Brooklyn and Nicola Peltz made it clear their goal was never about chasing attention or headlines. They said all they wanted was something real, a second chance to rewrite their wedding memories with joy instead of tension and love instead of anxiety. But with emotions still raw and sides deeply divided, any real reconciliation doesn't seem close at all. What Brooklyn revealed has completely peeled back the glossy curtain on a family the world has idolized for decades. Behind the perfect photos, designer outfits, and picture-perfect smiles, he's showing a reality shaped by control, loyalty, and complicated family boundaries that most people never saw coming. He admitted that speaking out came with a price, but it also brought something priceless: clarity. Brooklyn says he's finally choosing peace over performance, privacy over publicity, and authenticity over image. He's walking away from the family narrative the world expected him to follow, even if it means standing alone. And that's exactly what makes this story hit so hard. When a family as powerful and picture-perfect as the Beckhams starts breaking apart in public, the world can't look away. It's messy, it's emotional, and it's a rare glimpse behind fame's flawless facade. All of this leaves one massive question hanging in the air. Is Brooklyn Beckham finally standing up for himself after years of keeping quiet? Or is this the story of a powerful family struggling to hold on to control when everything starts spilling out in public? The truth might not be simple, and it's clear there's still a lot we haven't seen yet. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Do you believe Brooklyn's version of events, or do you feel there's more going on behind the scenes that hasn't come to light yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this debate is far from over and people everywhere are picking sides. And before you dip out, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and share button. It really helps the channel keep going strong and lets us keep digging deep into stories no one else dares to touch. Check out our other videos right here on Rumora Sneak for more celebrity revelations, untold stories, and behind-the-scenes drama you won't hear explained anywhere else. Thanks for tuning in. And trust me, you'll want to be here for the next drop.